Hi, Dr. Lopa. I think we're live now, so let's just kickstart the session. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for joining our session today. My name is Aruna Vaz, and I'm the CEO for Tsaaro Consulting Group in the Middle East, based out of Dubai. I also lead Tsaaro's India West region, and today we are discussing a very important topic on preventing AI data leakage without slowing down your business, slowing down your teams. We're all aware that AI is moving faster than any control framework that we see, and that's exactly where data leakage risk begins. So, as teams rapidly adopt tools like ChatGPT, Copilot, etc., sensitive data is increasingly flowing into prompts, code suggestions, third party models, often without visibility or control. So, the challenge isn't to slow innovation down, but it is to ensure that we embed guardrails that move at the same speed as your teams. And organizations that get this right are shifting from restrictive policies to intelligent controls. Real time monitoring, contextual access, privacy by design, all of these need to be directly embedded into our workflows. And this session will explore how to protect sensitive data in an AI driven enterprise without breaking productivity, and how forward looking firms are turning this risk into a competitive advantage. And to discuss this very important topic, I have somebody very special with me. Please welcome Dr. Lopa Mudraa Basuu. And Doctor, please can you introduce yourself to our audience today?
Thank you, Aruna. Namaskar. It's really great to connect you all over the Tsaaro platform, and special thanks to Aruna and Tsaaro team for hosting me over this platform and allowing me to connect all of you. Just a quick introduction, I will not take too much time. I would always love to introduce me as a cybersecurity and technology risk management professional. I have a 20 years plus experience in this field, and during my stay with the industry, majorly I have worked with the ITES, financial sector, automotive sector, and when it is coming to cyber security, that's the one wings of information security, and the broader wings is information security. So particularly, I got an opportunity to work with end-to-end information security. Yes, because I'm coming from a technology background, so cyber is my core domain. But when we talk about this domain, very importantly, what we do a technology risk management to protect our platform, to protect our data. So that is what I am doing. And I have led the global team across the world. And some of the organization I have worked with in them and contributed, like Infosys Technologies, then JP Morgan Chase, MetLife, SLK Global, Nissan Motor Corporation. Currently, I am associated with Nexus as AI. We are majorly working with the AI
Great.
related area.
Yeah.
That's me shortly.
Thank you, Dr. Lopa. That's a lovely introduction and such diverse experience you have. So really honored to have this conversation with you. So without wasting any more time, let's delve directly into some questions on AI and data leakage. So we do hear about a lot of data leakage happening across, right? Whether it's with AI tools or without AI tools. But in your experience, what's the most common way you see enterprises, say, unintentionally leak data through AI tools? Any scenarios or examples you can share with us today?
Very interesting question, Aruna. Because today, when we talk about the data, right? Data privacy, or and other hand, we are talking about the AI tool, which is actually used by the people without understanding the challenges related with the tool. So the most common way enterprise leak data is not through the hackers or attackers, it is through contextual oversharing.
Okay.
Employee treat AI like a trusted colleague, right? It's they sometimes they feel it's another colleague with whom I'm sharing data, and it has all the kind of intelligence to
Hmm.
protect the data, to sensitize that. But posting the sensitive meeting transcript or proprietary code for debugging, or sometime unmasked customer PII,
Hmm.
uh, or a very sensitive report. You want to somebody want to summarize a very sensitive report, they may go and upload the entire report to the AI, and without their knowledge they actually proactively contributing towards the data leakage.
Hmm.
Once that data hits the public model, it is effectively gone.
Hmm.
And when you share anything over the internet, whatever means you have, once it is shared, it is gone.
Hmm.
So the training or the kind of control we need to place inside to
Hmm.
ensure that unintentional leakage is not there. But very importantly, we need to understand human tendency is something to break. It's a inbuilt way our mind is working, right? If you say
Hmm.
no,
Hmm.
people start to explode. And
Yeah.
sometime when this guardrails or the controls come into the existence, people
Hmm.
try to explore. Oh, it is not working. Let's find out way out how to work it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
very importantly, we need to sensitize the people how to handle AI or how
Hmm.
to use the AI in a safe way. So majorly, those are as I mentioned, that unintentional contextual leakage. But very importantly, I feel that some cases maybe people are aware that there is a sensitive data, but they don't know the repercussion once
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
That also need to be sensitized.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. In my experience, Dr. Bhatta, I have seen that enterprises most often leak data through AI, not because of attacks, but because of everyday convenience, as you're talking of. So employees say pasting sensitive information into ChatGPT or Copilot, because we have these tools, access to these tools in an organization, right? Say uploading confidential file there or using unapproved shadow AI apps without oversight. All of these kind of expose proprietary logic, because we sometimes misconfigured integrations, weak access controls. They allow these AI systems to surface more data than intended, right? So we don't intend to
Absolutely.
do that, but we're exposing.
And Aruna,
Ultimately, I
here
think.
I would like to highlight one more thing. Most of
Yeah.
the cases, controls are very stringent when it is, I mean, up to mid-level management, right? But
Hmm.
most cases, the access is loose when you look at the senior level.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we that the way it is treated traditionally, oh, they are the senior people, they need more access, and they know how to handle the things.
Handle it. Yes, agreed with
Correct,
you.
but
Yeah.
that is a perception.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
may not be the truth, right, every
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
training and awareness required at every level. More senior level, you need to more sensitize them because they are handling more sensitive data.
Perfect. Agreed. Yeah. So since we're talking about senior level and senior level staff, let's discuss about a CISO's approach. So if
Okay.
we're looking at a CISO's approach with respect to AI data governance,
Mhm.
what should that approach look like from traditional frameworks? How is it different?
So, when we talk about the traditional governance framework, it is more a kind of static, perimeter-based, tool-based only, right? And
Mm-hmm.
people are in a mindset that you commission the tool, everything is taken care. That's the
Hmm.
traditional mindset. But when it is coming to the AI, in case of AI, more than having a tool in place, it is important to have a appropriate AI governance.
Mm-hmm.
Governance is must, and it should be dynamic and flow based.
Hmm.
A CISO, in my view, should not just ask where data is, but what the model is doing with that data.
You
That
mean
is
you
very
mean
important.
validating the model, right? The
Yes,
model needs. Yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
what data you have, it is very important. You should have a clarity about your crown jewel, right? Where they are
Hmm.
sitting. But when a model is touching this data, what that model is doing with that data, very important, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Correct. Today, when we talk about the vulnerabilities, while we are assessing the system, it is not restricted within the traditional testing model, right? We need to also see that how business logic is implemented within the software or the
Hmm.
AI, because
Yeah.
that there if there is a loophole in that business logic, that can lead to a data breach. Data
Yeah.
breach, I'm not talking about the legal dimension or legal meaning of the data breach. Here I'm referring to anybody getting access to a data which he or she supposed to not have access, right?
Yeah.
That is
Hmm.
another
Hmm.
kind of breach itself.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
we are moving from protecting data at rest to govern the data in interface,
Hmm.
ensuring the model does not just have access but has a legitimate, risk managed reason to process that specific data at that
Hmm.
specific point. So
Okay.
that is, I feel, a major shift, a seesaw approach
Yeah.
specifically.
So basically, the focus for the CISO now moves from, as you're saying, where the data sits to how the data flows and how it is interpreted by AI systems. And
Absolutely.
because there is a shift, it requires a tighter alignment between security, data privacy, and business teams without slowing down innovation or slowing down teams, so as to say. Yeah, very well summarized actually from that point of view, Doctor. Uh, so we've been talking about AI risks in terms of data leakage, right?
Mhm,
When it comes to controls, before
mhm.
deploying any AI tools enterprise wide, what sort of controls, top three that you can think of that organizations should have in place before deploying such tools?
Absolutely. Now, when we are going to talk about the control, right? There are lots of basic control requirement like stringent access or model security, uh, guardrail related to data poisoning. Those are very standard control we need to look for. But I would say don't boil the version when you are actually trying to conclude top three control, but start with this three: prompt filtering and masking. It is very,
Mhm.
very important. Use an intermediary API layer to auto marks the PII and sensitive keywords before they reach to your LLM.
Mhm.
Second is opt out audit, right? Opt out is very important when it is coming to the data and the AI.
Hmm.
Ensure you have verified contractual proof that your vendor has disabled the training on your user data. That is very, very important.
Hmm.
Use
Yeah.
the trench, map
Hmm.
specific AI tool to a specific data classification. Example, if you have a kind of public AI for marketing, or private uh, VPC hosted AI for a
Hmm.
financial analysis, those kind of thing. But
Hmm.
these three are top lightweight control, I would say.
Hmm.
But please don't ignore the baseline controls, right? That is your
Yeah.
access control, your vulnerability management, your
Hmm.
logical flow identification. All this needs to be in place.
Hmm.
Additionally, when it is coming to AI, these three, I would say the top control, because these three are very specific to AI.
Yeah, correct. I think basic access controls is something that all organizations, I think getting the basic right is most important rather than trying to over engineer things. So, for example,
Yes,
approving tool whitelisting, for example, with basic access controls like single sign on and logging, etc., while using platforms like ChatGPT Enterprise or Microsoft Copilot. These are simple things that we can do, for monitoring the prompts and the usage patterns to detect early risk behavior. I think where organizations are failing is they're trying to over engineer things. Uh,
absolutely. And
yeah,
also, when it is coming to the AI, there are AI agent today everywhere seeding, right?
yeah,
Lots of cases, people forget to analyze the access, right? Those AI, when configured, they configured for a end-to-end kind of, timings. But
mm,
every AI must have a time-bound access,
yeah,
and there should be a timeout after certain time if AI is inactive. And
mm,
secondly, uh, this agent needs to be
mm,
aligned with the human ownership, right? They
yeah.
should not be unmonitored. There should be a owner for this agent.
Human in the
So
loop.
human should be in between to
Yeah.
monitor them, that how they are handling the data, how they are
Mm,
interacting with data, and over the
mm,
time when this agent is learning from their day-to-day activity, the kind of output they're generating, how effective those output from a data perspective, specifically privacy perspective, security perspective, are they creating something, right, which is harmful for the
yeah.
organization? That
Yeah.
also needs to be checked.
Great. We've automatically moved into our next question because you mentioned about data security, right? So when we're talking about AI, it's important for us to balance data security without slowing down our teams. How do we maintain that sort of balance?
Security, the key element of security is the speed. Much
Hmm.
first, much secure, right? So the secret is in workflow security. So you have a workflow that needs to be secure. If
Hmm.
you make a user leave their favorite app to go through a security portal, they may find that's a kind of workaround. By embedding the security directly into the workflow in the browser, example, enterprise browser with real-time DLP, or
Hmm.
providing the sanitized or sanctioned sandbox, you allow the team to move faster while the safety net moves with them. So
Yeah.
that is very important. Also, when you actually onboard kind of secure AI or any kind of software, do a technology risk assessment, data risk assessment thoroughly, and whatever business domain you are in, align those risks and accordingly build the guardrail, implement the control in place.
Yeah.
Same way, also we need to look at when we actually onboard a AI tool, or or we are developing a AI tool. So sometime, when we are developing, we need to ensure that when we are creating the entire requirement, or when we are going through the entire phase of requirement gathering itself, the technology, apart from the technology and operational requirement, we need to focus on the security requirement and the privacy requirement and the compliance requirement, and then build it. And also, with each storyboard, this needs to be taken care, and during the module testing it needs to be taken care. It
Yeah.
is not that end of that. Same
Mhm.
way, while onboarding the tool or a software, ensure that you are very much aware about the inherent risks of that software or a tool, because every technology is having some inherent risks, and that is going to incorporate within your environment. Also, you need to see that when that new tool or new technology coming within your technology stack, how
Hmm.
differently your technology stack is expected to behave, right? And
Yeah.
accordingly, you may need to rethink about your control and control.
Hmm. Yeah, I would say uh, security by design is
Yes,
what you're talking of. Yeah,
yes,
like yeah,
initially maybe design, but long term we need to think about security by default and equally privacy by default because
correct, agreed. Yeah. So the common challenge that we see is business teams say y'all are trying to slow us down. The risk, privacy, and the security teams are trying to slow us down, but it's actually not that. I think a good practice would be to embed controls into the workflow rather than layering restrictions on the top, as you mentioned,
correct,
right? Yeah, the clear guardrails on what data can be shared, what
correct,
decisions are taken automatically, or automated decisions. Are there real time monitoring there? Is there a human in the loop when it comes
correct.
to these decisions that are made, so on and so forth? So protection is invisible, adaptive, and it doesn't interrupt productivity, so as to doesn't slow down
Absolutely.
the teams. Yeah, great.
Absolutely, Aruna. Here, I would like to mention another thing. Ownership of the tool is very important because we need to be very clear in one part. Ownership
Mm.
matters, right? The tool is always owned by the business, not by IT.
Mm.
IT is a steward
Enabler.
enabler for that
Yeah.
tool, right?
Mm.
But the tool ownership, anything wrong happened with the tool or anything wrong happened to the organization due to the wrong implementation or kind of wrong incorporation of the tool,
Mm.
business team is going to be responsible for that, not the
Mm.
IT. So
Mm.
that clear communication very important. Security and uh, privacy team or CISO and DPO is advisor, right? They are
Mm.
responsible for the organizational security, but
Mm.
there should be a balance between your
Between the two.
business and
Yeah.
the security, and that should be a good handshake between our operation, business, and legal and security
Yeah.
and privacy.
Yeah, great. Now that you've mentioned CISO and CTO and legal and so on and so forth, I'm going to jump to the CTO and Chief Digital Officer question that I had on my mind.
Okay,
Yeah, there are all these roles now within an organization. There's a CTO, there's a CIO, there's a Chief Digital Officer, and they all talk to multiple AI vendors, right?
right.
What should they be asking these vendors before onboarding them that they're currently not asking?
So obviously, these roles are a little bit different from each other. For example, CTO is more focusing on the IT, in-house IT. CIO is more on the entire business focus IT. Chief Digital Officer is enabling the digitization of the organization. So they have a different perspective. So they somebody have some question related to operational efficiency, some
Hmm.
cases business, legal officer coming with the legal requirement like that. But apart from that, only asking the feature, they need to start asking about agentic accountability and lineage.
Hmm.
If your AI agent mocks an autonomous error, right, or make an autonomous error or unauthorized data call, how
Hmm.
is that logged and who is liable? That
Yeah.
is one of the very important question because today we're using lots of platform, right, where we
Yeah.
directly not handling the technology. We just pay for the users, right?
Hmm.
So it
Yeah.
is very important. And
Yeah.
if that kind of thing happen, how first I can get the logs, how first I can come across those
Yeah.
information,
So
those
yeah.
kind
So
of incident.
yeah. So it's not just security breaches now, as you're
Correct,
saying. How do you handle AI misuse? How do you
correct,
handle data exposure via prompts or model leaks is also important. So It
Yes.
will be really an important question for them to ask. Correct. Yeah, I
Yes.
agree with
Another
that.
question, Aruna, I feel that very important. Can you provide a bill of material for the training data to prevent no IP infringement or toxic content was used? That is very,
Mm-hmm.
very important while
Mm-hmm.
we are onboarding the AI.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think another thing that I feel is really important from an overall, asking our vendors' perspective is now as organizations are operating, they handle regulatory compliance across jurisdictions.
Correct.
So it's not like only, for example, only DPDPA in India or GDPR in the EU. It's not that. It's organizations that are present in the Middle East as well as in India as well as in the EU, for example. So I think how does our vendor handle that regulatory compliance across jurisdictions is also important. And the reason why I'm saying it is from AI perspective, EU is the only region that has an EU AI Act.
Mhm.
The other countries or jurisdictions have frameworks.
Correct.
There is no law per se that has really come into force. There are discussions that are happening. Even in the Saudi, we have SDAI, we have NDMO, so on and so forth. They are talking about AI and stuff, but they are frameworks. They're not law per se. So I think how the vendor will be able to handle regulatory compliance across these various jurisdictions, frameworks, etc., is also important to understand before I onboard a partner. So I think that's another one for me that I would specifically look at.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about DPDPA now, Doctor. It's the talk of the town in India. Everybody's talking about the Digital Personal Data Protection Act. What role does it play in AI data security decisions right now, according to you?
In India and beyond, the DPDPA Act has turned AI security into a broader level legal liability. That is
Mhm.
my take. Under the Act, your organization, if it is a data fiduciary, this means if your AI vendor leak data, you are still responsible, right?
Hmm.
Decision must now prioritize based on the purpose limitation, ensure the personal data is not used for AI training unless explicitly or required, or you have a granular consent
Hmm.
that is in place. So this kind of thing actually strengthening the previous, not only privacy, the privacy in turn actually boosting the data security into the next level.
Hmm. Yeah, agreed. Agreed. It's the coming months. It'll be interesting to see how DPDP is actually implemented in India from that perspective. We have like less than 14 months, right, to implement it
Yes.
within organizations. And then the AI use cases that we have will also be very interesting to see in India in terms of how that those decisions made by AI is looked at. What sort of AI model drifts? How do we train agentic AI? I think it's interesting times.
Very interesting time because we are actually in a crossroad.
Yeah.
Entire world is standing in a crossroad, and all are watching the traffic behavior and learning. So here I would like to cite an example. It's a very interesting. So what happened? It's a long back. I was working with one of the major um, insurance company of the world. So
Hmm.
one of a very senior gentleman every day watching on the cross section of the road. So I was asked, one day I asked him what you are actually watching every day, right? So he is telling me, Lopa, we are the very highly emotionally intelligent animal. So I keep watching. There are some puppies on the road. They are stray. Every time human violating the road, related traffic related
Rules.
regulations, they
Hmm.
are breaking the signal. But these puppies, first they are watching left, right, left, then they are crossing the road. Also when signal is stopped, then only they are crossing the road. So how they are doing that? It's a observation capability, right?
Hmm.
So that's how today we are also watching and we are also learning. The first we would be able to learn it, we would be able to survive in a better way. We would be able to sustain in the market in a
Yeah.
much more effective way because AI is a dual-edged sword.
Yeah.
It may cut the throat or it help you to protect your organization.
Yeah, true. Agreed. Yeah. In the paucity of time, Dr. Lupa, I'm going
Yeah.
to jump to my last question, which is on biases. And one of our participants today also has a question on a data bias, right? So, how do you think data bias impacts our society today? And if and how and when we are even talking to our vendors, how do we ensure that our data that is trained and is getting continuously trained is not biased? What are your thoughts on that?
So I would like to start with the example, Aruna. Uh, you go and ask AI, provide me kind of good profile for the CEO of the company or CISO
Hmm.
of the company. Most of the time, they're pulling the data from LinkedIn or any other site on mail.
Hmm.
Profiles are male profiles,
Yeah.
so it's a inbuilt bias, right? Because the AI don't know that, because most of the cases they are learning is that is the major chunk
Yeah.
of data coming from that set. So we what we think is, bias are not just a technical glitch.
Hmm.
They are the reflection of historical inequities of in our data. So we have
Yeah.
a data set that is inbuilt. This impact the society through automated exclusion or
Hmm.
automated execution? AI-driven hiring tool uh, somehow need to be trained in a non-traditional way,
Hmm.
and we need to fine tune that continuously. We need to give that or credit algorithm, right? We need to again look at the demographics when these tools are learning, and based on the demographics we need to fine tune that and ensure that that bias is actually neutralized.
Hmm.
If we do not audit our training data, we are not just predicting the future properly.
Hmm.
We we are hard coding this prejudices of the past into our infrastructure.
Hmm.
Basically, maybe in beginning of 2000 to 2000, middle of 2008 or 2010, most of the organization using IPS IDS devices, right? Initially, these devices are implemented in learning mode, and
Hmm.
over the time, after 5 months, 6 months, human is actually sitting and enabling them in a active mode where they are start dropping the connection, stating these are not legitimate connection, you cannot visit those area. So
Hmm.
same way, we need to continuously monitoring the learning pattern, how it is throwing the outcome. Wherever the bias is implemented, we need to go and debias those area
Yeah.
to ensure the the decision. Yes, one of the major work performed by the AI is supporting our decision making capability by throwing the information or
Hmm.
decision support information.
Hmm.
So it is very important to debias those.
Yeah, agreed. I think humans by nature are very judgmental and biased themselves. So,
Yes.
so even before AI, when and I'll give you a classic example, even many years before AI as well, at the time of hiring as well, a lot of people at the back of their mind had things like, I don't want to hire a woman who is just, for example, married because she may possibly go on maternity leave in 6 months down the line. That was a bias at the back of our head, in the sense that then I have to pay for maternity cover and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to say that humans per se by
Absolutely,
nature
yes.
are biased, And the ones that are training the AI model are also humans, right? So
Yes,
I think that's where it's really important for us to clearly demarcate the two and remove the debiasness, because then the
definitely.
decisions that are made or the outputs generated from the AI are incorrect or inaccurate.
So
There
it
is a
is
very
not the organization. Organization also need to deploy a third party for regular check to ensure where they are debiasing some
exactly.
tool. They are really debiased because
Yeah.
every organization have their tradition, their culture that may also be a cause to integrate little bit part of bias on that, right?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. There's a very interesting question from Prem Chandra Rai on chat, and he says that when multi factor authentication is enforced on both Gmail and ChatGPT or any AI, and access is limited to just the user, what additional risks make AI tools more prone to data leakage compared to email? It's a very interesting question. Dr. And whilst you're gathering your thoughts, if I can just give my 2 cents on this question.
Sure.
First of all, thank you, Prem, for asking the question. Even with multi-factor authentication or user limit access, AI tools, we all know, remain more prone to data leakage because of how they process and generate content. So, for example, unlike email, AI models of they retain and process user inputs to generate responses. So when you use sensitive data in your prompts, it could reflect in the output as well, right? And that output can be shared with other users if we are all operating in a multi-tenant environment or logged for model improvement. So that's one way the data can be leaked. AI tools, as you know, can hallucinate or combine inputs as well, right? It will inadvertently produce outputs that expose confidential information in ways that an email will never be able to do. Then comes file upload and integration. AI systems often allow you to upload documents, upload files, connect to databases, integrate with other apps, etc. So you're creating new attack surface that bypasses traditional email protections. So from that perspective, they become much more lethal as compared to an email. I hope I'm able to do justice to the question and it gives you some sort of insights, Prem, but I'll wait to hear from Dr. Lopa. Dr. Lopa.
Absolutely right, Haruna. Here, Prem, you need to look at that the way AI working. You need to fit the data or ask the question with specification, then only it generate the output. And another thing is that whenever you send some information to AI tool, which is public by nature, you are actually giving it, you cannot revoke it back. Also, when you are using a public email, they are also keeping the backup in different places, right? It is very difficult in case of any breach happen, how to protect those data. Because if you look at the agreement, right, which you have signed before opting those services, those information are already covered. So you have agreed, and that you are fine with those kind of things. So there is nothing like that, absolutely closed. You are opening the gate so water can flow from both the side.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Lopa. On that note, thank you everyone for joining us today. In summary, preventing AI data leakage doesn't mean slowing teams down. It means embedding smart guardrails, real-time monitoring, approved tools directly into our workflows. Why we're recommending these recommendations ensure that we're making security visible, contextual, adaptative, and organizations can unlock AI's full potential while keeping sensitive data safe. The goal is simple: speed and innovation without compromise on trust or compliance. On that note, Dr. Lupa and I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining. Thank you, Dr. Lupa, for joining and those interesting insights that you presented today to us. Very useful, very beneficial to everybody, personally to me as well. And hoping that Tsaaro Consulting can do many more webinars like this in the future to bring a lot more awareness to organizations and individuals. And thank you so much this evening for everybody who joined. Have a good day.
Thank you, Aruna. It is really a very engaging discussion. I personally enjoyed it, and Obviously, it is a kind of, very interesting topic. I would like to collaborate in future in this kind of discussion again. And my best wishes for Sharo for
Thank
upcoming
you.
engagements. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Have
And
a good
thank
evening,
you for
everyone.
hosting me today. And
Yeah.
thank you all for connecting us in a working day and become a part of this entire discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Lopa. Have a good evening. Bye bye.